We're back, people, and today we've got another video going over the Miami Dolphins undrafted free agents. I've talked about them a lot over this offseason, but really want to do this all in one video, getting guys that I think have the best chance of making the roster with training camp right around the corner. And I think there's at least 3, 4, potentially 5 guys that have like a decent shot of making it, especially at certain spots. I think some of these guys, there's a couple of them that I thought were draftable players. There's some that I thought were like high-end UDFAs. And then also like the depth of the room definitely plays a big part. There'll be like some unpredictable factors, like someone could make it, maybe based off of injuries. But let's start on the offense side of the ball. I think the player with the best chance on the offense side of the ball, in my opinion, is probably Jalen Conyers, the tight end out of Texas Tech. I think the Dolphins were clearly a fan. I remember going into he was one of the guys I watched pre-draft process. And he was one of the guys that I tagged as a fit in that Shanahan style scheme, which the Dolphins obviously run. Conyers, he has a little bit of versatility to kind of play both spots. He has the size to play Y, still is kind of learning that position, but has the ability to play F. He has receiving ability. He's quite fast, actually. He tested really well for a guy that's about 6'3", in that 260 range. Kind of has like a basketball skill set at the catch point, can box people out, make some plays. He's even played like wildcat quarterback when he was at Arizona State, did some at Texas Tech. A guy that clearly still needs some development. I think I remember hearing maybe a reason he went undrafted was some slight maturity problems, nothing major, a little bit older of a prospect, but I think there's some really developmental stuff there that I like. Whether he, I think he's a guy that is likely to stick around, even if he doesn't make the roster. I think there's a decent chance he's someone that probably doesn't get claimed and you can keep on the practice squad, and he could easily be elevated throughout the season because the tight end room isn't really, in front of him is really only Darren Waller at that spot that he has to play. But Pharaoh Brown, Julian Hill are different type of tight ends. He really is kind of competing with Tanner Connor for a potential spot. They both could end up, missing out. But Conyers is one that I think has a decent shot because of that. And also guaranteed money. If you look at UDFA contracts, the guys that they give out guaranteed money to is a very good sign for understanding how high the Dolphins are on them, and they're more likely to keep them around. And Conyers is one of those guys. So offensively, he would probably be the one that I give the biggest shout to. Then I go to the receiver room. Dolphins brought in 4 UDFA receivers. I think 2 of them have a pretty decent shot. I think the other 2, Henning and Baldwin, maybe potential practice squad. I think unlikely to make the actual team, even though I am a Baldwin fan. But I think Andrew Armstrong and Theo Weiss Jr. Andrew Armstrong, in my opinion, was the Dolphins' most talented UDFA just based on film alone. I thought he was someone who should have been drafted. Honestly, could have been drafted round 5, and I think it would have been pretty solid value in my opinion, round 6 type of player in there. So him going undrafted was surprising. He's a little bit older, but outside of that, I don't know many issues with him. He was very productive in college. He has size. He has yak ability, pretty good movement skills. Guy that can run routes and make impact at all 3 levels. Similar, the other guy, Theo Weiss Jr., another guy with size. He's a little more, he's not as explosive as an athlete as Armstrong, but he's a little more polished of a player when it comes to the route nuance. And the reason I mentioned Weiss is I think he was one that they gave I think the most guaranteed money to. So the Dolphins were clearly high on Theo Weiss Jr. I personally have Armstrong a bit higher, but that's why I got to mention Weiss as well. Similar body types, Armstrong a little bit taller, maybe Weiss a little thicker. But both can make plays down in the red zone. Both have some route running chops. Armstrong kind of gets by more with his athleticism, while Weiss gets by more with the nuance of his play. But 2 guys that I think definitely have a chance. Even if the Dolphins only keep 5 wide receivers, I think one of them could still get a spot. And the Dolphins keep 6, and I would say one of them likely ends up on the team. Maybe 2. And then the rest of the offense, Dolphins have a quarterback, a running back. I don't think they make it. Maybe practice squad. Who knows? You never know with practice squad. But making the team, I very much highly doubt it. Then the O-line. There's Addison West, Josh Priebe, and Teddy Cushy. I think in that O-line room, if you look at the O-line depth, there's not a lot. Not a lot of people that you're I really want to keep this guy on the depth of the offensive line. So if any of them show out, they actually could make it. I think even say if Nate Noel, the running back, shows out, I still think it's pretty tough for him to make the team just due to that room. If these guys show out, they have a chance. I think Addison West is the one with the best chance out of the offensive line group because he has center and guard versatility. And Andrew Meyer, who I think they're very similar players. West and Meyer both very athletic, can do the reach block stuff. the movement skills that translate to center in the Dolphin system. And Andrew Meyer made the team last year, so they're clearly high on Meyer. But West and Meyer actually think are similar levels, but West has potential guard versatility while Meyer doesn't. So that is something to keep in mind. I think West could end up edging out Meyer because of that. I think they keep 9 line, but if they keep 10, then one of them really has a shot to push up. Cushy, Dolphins don't really have a lot of backup tackles other than maybe Keon Smith and, Borum, depending if they see him as a tackle or a guard. They probably are going to use him at both. But like Cushy's someone that I think is like, Cushy would be like an ideal practice squad O-lineman because he's got like athleticism, good size and length. I think he just needs some development. And then Prevy's another shout that I could see, like more so practice squad in my opinion, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up, edging it out. And that's kind of how I see the offense side of the ball. Defense, mostly focusing on the secondary players here that were added. I think, there's a lot on offense there. There's only 5, or it might be, 5 UDFAs here. There's Alex Huntley on the D-line. I don't see Huntley making the team. I just think with all the guys they drafted, it's going to be tough to edge any of those guys out. And then there's also some veterans. And he was a depth guy at South Carolina. He wasn't even a starter. So he's someone that I see maybe practice squad, but nothing more than that. Same with Eugene Asante. I know some people like him. The way Eugene Asante would have to make it is, one, they would have to keep 5 linebackers. Even if they kept 5 linebackers, I would still think Tyndall would probably make it over him. And also, I think they keep 4 off-ball linebackers, so I think his shot of making is tough as well. I want to mention him because I do think there's some special teams ability there, and UDFAs can sometimes, surprise and make a team because of special teams. And Asante is someone that's like, out of all these players that could make it just purely off special teams, I think he's the one that kind of could do that. But based on playing time and guys that actually I think could make the team and even play is BJ Adams. I think with Conyers, I think BJ Adams is like right up there with him with like very good shot of making the team. BJ Adams, UCF corner, long, lengthy, physical press man guy. I think the Dolphins are going to run more press man. We've talked about all the reasonings for that, and Adams loves to do a lot of that. Like he has a really good feel for it, and the Dolphins have a history of UDFA corners making the team. And Adams, I think, is the best of that bunch. They also added Ethan Robinson out of Minnesota. I prefer Adams, but there is some intrigue on Robinson's film. He also is probably better in press man in other areas. And you never know when it comes to this stuff. Sometimes a guy's more committed. They're both UDFAs, but one guy, puts in more work and they end up making it. So it wouldn't surprise me if Ethan Robinson, just due to the corner room. But I think Adams has a real good shot because I would say Adams, Conyers, and Armstrong are the 3 that I thought should have been drafted. Like they had draftable grades. The rest of them, maybe some guys that were potentially draftable. I think John Saunders Jr., the Ole Miss guy, the DB, he's someone that would have a draftable grade, but I don't know. He'll be tough because he's in the safety room. Dolphins already have 6 safeties they want to keep, and you don't usually keep 6 safeties. I guess Saunders could make it if they do give him more of a nickel chance. Because Saunders did play a ton of nickel at Ole Miss. Like, he is listed as a safety, but he played a lot of nickel corner. So maybe if he ends up playing nickel and does good there, he could make the team as like that, last DB that plays both corner and safety type thing. That versatility could help him. But he does have a tough battle in front of him. Like he would probably need some injuries, or he would have to really outperform the 2 young drafted guys in front of him, and Dante Trader Jr. and Patrick McMorris, which would be very tough. And he'd have to outperform, I think, both of them to make the team. But yeah, I think BJ Adams, Jalen Conyers, Andrew Armstrong are my top 3 to make it. Got to give Theo Weiss Jr. out, and I think Addison West. Those would be like the top 5 that I would guess to make it. And Dolphins have had, last year, I feel like last year people didn't expect Dolphins to keep any UDFAs just based on the roster. And they still ended up keeping UDFAs. They still ended up keeping, I believe it was 2, right? Storm Duck and Andrew Meyer. And then Isaiah Johnson was on the practice squad. Jason Matry was on the practice squad. Jordan Colbert was on the practice squad. So Grayson Murphy is still kept around. So like UDFAs, even if they don't make the initial team, guys can still stick around. And I think this class is pretty solid. It's one of the better UDFA class, I think, in recent years. There's usually guys that I like, and I think based on this roster, I don't think it's as deep as it was in previous years. So I think UDFA is even a better chance to make it, especially in those spots that I talked about. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.